ימחה וכף, יחד הרים ירננו, לפני אדוני קיווה, לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, וערים במישרים, ירם הים ומלוא, תבל ויושביה, נהרות ימחה וכף, יחד הרים ירננו, יחד הרים ירננו.
On page 138, we continue with the singing of Lecha Dodi, the first, second, fifth, and last, the ninth stanza. And please, if you're comfortable doing so, please rise. And usually we face the door in which people might be entering as a way to welcome, symbolically welcome the Sabbath bride. I think the Sabbath bride is not going to take that staircase, however. So wherever way you want to be welcoming Shabbat, please do so.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, 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 ki ha'orech u'mi'ori, uri uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nikra. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please rise.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We We continue with the chanting of the Chatzi Kaddish, the Reader's Kaddish, which begins on page 144.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ועלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם עולם עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ותרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה ברכו, לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן ביעלמה ויאמרו אמן. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
And please join me in the middle of page 148. Or alternatively, this is the blessing, thanking God for the wonder of nature. Just take a look around. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 149. Excuse me, 150.
Ahavat olam et Yisrael, amecha Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, alekein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu, u'kumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu be'orech yameinu, uvahem יום ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Please be seated and join us in the V'ahavta, which starts at the top of page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Let's continue together at the top of 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך בדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לידנו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כיפר אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
And together in the middle of 160. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום, עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורותם ברית עולם.
On page 164, we rise and continue with the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Now let's continue together at the top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace.
May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
Page 175. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayers, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. And on page 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within,
for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us.
For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Blessed are you, Adonai. You bless your people Israel, and God willing, all people everywhere with peace. We continue our prayers silently.
לרצון נמרפי. יהיו לרצון נמרפי. וגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you. O God, my rock and my redeemer. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, Amen.
Those of you who are of a certain age will know the name Ted Koppel. Ted Koppel was a journalist, television journalist, who worked for ABC News, and his career came smack dab into the middle of the hostage situation in Iran. And every night on the news, you'd see day 245 of the hostages being in Iran. Didn't say that every day. It said a number increasing every day until the time in which they were released. A similar exercise is happening in Israel right now, where people are very concerned about those hostages who are still in Gaza and who are hoping and praying that the forces that can make it happen will move towards some kind of negotiated agreement through which the hostages can make it home. For now, though, we include them in the Mishaberach because the doesn't need explanation. You know why. We think also of the Mishaberach of all of those who have been wounded in battle in that part of the world and others where war is taking place. Lucy Adams, Sarah bat Vessi Veben, Rivka Fegi bat Phyllis, Emily Bear, Simcha Meir bat Esther Malka, Bonnie Chait, Moshe ben Chaya Sarah, Kevin Boland, Joseph Carrasco, Vivian Cohn, Katie Peltz Davis, Jessica Edwardson, Norman Fell, Roz Flegel, Leonore Fridman, Lisa Frolkis, Susie Garrison, Marianne Gehrig, Sue Gex, David Goldenholtz, Robin Holmes, Jennifer Houston, Michelle Jacoby, Jeffrey Katz, Pat Kester, Rory Langlois, Margaret Lowe, Jody Lichtenstein, Jim McDermott and Karen McDermott, Maureen McClown, Kathy Manchero, Don Metzke, Marla Olek, Bob Ratke, Mosi Ramirez, Bill, Martha, Micah, and Sally Ross, Stella Schneider, and Chava, as well as Gary Siegel, Herb Selden, Jeannie Silver, Ricky Spiegel, Michael Stillman, Martin Strauss, Will Thompson, Deidre Tischberg, Vito Valente, Murray Weinschel, and Kenneth Wexler. If there are, and also Russ Hearn, David Smith Larson, and David and Ann Roger. If there are others of whom you are aware who could use our prayers for healing, I ask you to hold them close to you in your heart as together we sing the prayer.
שפרח אבותינו, מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שפרח אמותינו, מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
My assumption is that no matter what you have done in terms of work in your life, no matter what you studied, there was probably something you were taught that stuck with you, that you knew at the moment that you learned it, that this was going to be something important, and just a lesson, an idea that accompanied you through. For me, it was an essay written by 20th century Jewish thinker Simon Ravidovitz called Israel, the Ever-Dying People. Ravidovitz observed that the Jewish people has throughout history viewed itself as, quote, constantly on the verge of ceasing to be, of disappearing, unquote. This is, by the way, by no means limited to such times as the destruction of the First Temple or the Second Temple, which we commemorate on the 9th day of Av, Tisha B'Av, which falls on August 12th this year. One can hardly find a generation, writes Ravidovitz, which did not consider itself the final link in Israel's chain. In the past 100 years, his description is no less accurate. The trauma of the Shoah, the Holocaust, and most recently, the uptick in anti-Semitism worldwide has rekindled age-old anxieties. This Shabbat, I'd like to focus on the ancient rabbis' response to this question. Why did God allow the two temples to be destroyed? Well, the first temple was destroyed, the ancient rabbis reasoned, because the leaders of the people at that time were punctilious in their observance of rites and rituals, but they were less committed to the morals and ethics on which those rites and rituals were based. We have some evidence of this on Yom Kippur at the morning service, where we read from the prophet Isaiah, who accuses the leaders of his day of observing their fast days, but then returning home to mistreat their families and to cheat their business partners. The second temple, however, was destroyed because of sinat chinam, free and baseless hatred. While the first temple was destroyed because of how the leaders treated their relationship with God, the second temple was destroyed because of the way they mistreated their relationships with each other. One could easily compare the current cultural climate in which political polarization has resulted in people behaving very poorly towards each other at times. But it is Shabbat, a time to imagine how the world could be better than that. Instead, I'm going to turn to this week's Torah portion. It is called Korach. It describes a rebellion of the Israelites in the desert against Moses and Aaron, and it is led by their cousin, whose name is Korach. The Torah says the following. Now Korach, the son of Itzhar, son of Kohat, son of Levi, betook himself along with Dotan and Aviram, sons of Eliab and On, son of Pelet, descendants of Reuven, to rise up against Moses, together with 250 Israelites, chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly, men of repute. They arose against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far, for all the community are holy, all of them, and Adonai is in their midst. Why then do you raise yourselves above Adonai's congregation?" The Torah relates that at this point, Moses falls on his face, which is a way of saying he was giving serious thought to what they had said. He stood up and said, "Come morning, Adonai will make known who is God's and who is holy by granting direct access. The one whom God has chosen will be granted access." Well, the next morning arrives. Korach, his co-conspirators, and the 250 assembled men appear. A great rumbling occurs. The earth opens wide, and Korach and his band fall in, forever lost. Personally, I've always imagined at this point, Moses looked up at the assembled community and said, "Any other questions?" Jewish commentators differ on what it was that what Korach was really upset about. One most intriguing explanation centers on the fact that Korach and Moses and Aaron were all cousins. Despite that, to make a long story short, Korach was passed over for a leadership role. His anger, his hurt, it seems, was the result of what he took to be a personal slight. Well, perhaps a tad oversensitive, but Korach's name doesn't disappear with him. In fact, his descendants are honored by 11 out of 150 psalms, which are dedicated in their honor, a sign perhaps that rebellion in the proper context can be meritorious. It's just how it is conducted that matters. But back to free and baseless hatred. The Talmud relays a story that I know some of you have heard of how calamitous the result of a personal slight can actually be. It is the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. It's in the Talmud. Once upon a time, it doesn't say once upon a time, that's just this version of it. A man threw a dinner party in Jerusalem. He meant to invite his friend named Kamsa. Instead, the invitation was delivered to his archenemy, not his archenemy, somebody he really had a long-term dispute with, whose name was Bar Kamsa, who took this as a sign of reconciliation and who then showed up to the party. When he walked in, the host saw him, went right up to him and said, "I don't want you in my house. You have to leave." Bar Kamsa begged to be spared the embarrassment of being evicted. He said, "I'll pay for my meal." The host says no. He says, "I'll pay for half the entire feast you're throwing." Absolutely not. Bar Kamsa said, "I'll pay for the entire feast that you're throwing. Please don't embarrass me and humiliate me this way." The host did not compromise. Bar Kamsa was thrown out into the street. And Bar Kamsa, seeing that the rabbis in attendance at that party did not protest, plotted his revenge not against the host, but against the entire Jewish people. When a Roman official sent an animal to be sacrificed in the temple, Bar Kamsa subtly maimed it, disqualifying it as an offering to God. As the Talmud tells the story in Tractate Gittin, the rabbis who oversaw the temple had a debate. Should they accept? They knew exactly what Bar Kamsa was up to. Should they accept the animal nonetheless, so as not to enrage the Romans and break the law, in this case, for the communal good? Rabbi Zechariah ben Avkolos was a stickler for rules. The law should not be set aside, he insisted. Instead, the sacrifice was rejected. The Romans were infuriated, and the Roman war machine moved into motion and destroyed Jerusalem and the temple and exiled our people. For Rabbi Yochanan, who escaped Jerusalem and rebuilt Judaism after the destruction, the villain of the story was Rabbi Zechariah. So why isn't Bar Kamsa the villain? Excuse me, not Bar Kamsa, the host. Because his complaint against the leaders, why isn't Bar Kamsa the villain insofar as he informed against the Jewish community? He told the Romans that the Jews were up to something. And to test that, the Romans sent this offering. Perhaps because his complaint against the Jewish leaders of the day had merit. God allowed Bar Kamsa's anger to be acted upon, ultimately deciding that Bar Kamsa was right. Jerusalem deserved to be destroyed because its leaders and populace allowed him to be shamed. Given that God so evidently hates verbal oppression and emotional insult, why did the rabbis not speak up to defend Bar Kamsa's honor? The mindset of Rabbi Zechariah excuses the rabbinic inaction. Where is the halachic obligation to protest in the face of people being mean? Sure, the Torah says you shall not oppress, which the Talmud understands to mean even through words. And the Torah commands you should love your fellow as yourself, which Hillel taught us means not to do something else, do something to others that is hateful to you. Surely Bar Kamsa's enemy, the inhospitable host, transgressed these commands. But where is it written that rabbis must protest injustice? There is no specific mitzvah, no Mishnah, no line in Tractate Sanhedrin in the Talmud demanding that rabbis speak out against offenses before God, particularly against an offense that is not happening in the name of religion. After all, this party that Bar Kamsa accidentally crashed was in a private home, not a synagogue social hall. The moral of the story: the silence of the rabbis was intolerable to God. To have reduced God's concern to the blemishes on a calf and to ignore the divine call for justice, mercy, and empathy was itself a blasphemy. Better for God to evacuate the temple than to provide false witness. In other words, perhaps Bar Kamsa was right. If the rabbinic leaders were unable to live up to their responsibilities, they didn't deserve God's presence or God's blessings on their institutions. Which brings us to the question: are our leaders passing the Bar Kamsa test? Are we passing it? Am I passing it? When feelings were hurt, which side were we on? We are going to conclude our service. We have 14 minutes. I have Chip Mann, who some of you know, during the summer, oversees a lot of sailboat racing in the lakes in this part of Wisconsin and other places. And he introduced me to a app for the iPhone, which is a very sophisticated radar, which shows you in real time what's happening. A lot of the radars that you get from weather.com and things like that are off by 10 or 12 minutes. If you're trying to decide, should we start this sailboat race or not, you need finer acuity than that. So at the start of the service, as it started to get dark, I thought, well, I'll just take out my phone and put it here and take a look, and I'll see if we're in for a downpour. And then I realized phone's upstairs. So I have faith we will be okay. On page 586, we rise and face east for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
The Kaddish is on page 598. We think especially of the following Israeli soldiers who were laid to rest this week. Duansid Alitush, Alon Sekeo, Yair Avitan, Yakir Shmuel Teitelbaum, Uri Yitzchak Hadad, Yehuda Ghetto, Saleh Mimran, Italy Galea, Roe Miller, and Malkia Gross. We think especially as well of those who were laid to rest within the past 30 days, Bill Nikud, Dick Kahn, and Stan Jolton. And the following who have members of our congregation saying Kaddish for them in this the year following the death: Robin Glickstein, Bob Lieb, Ali Kravit, Marcia Fenson, Nancy Osterman, David Hested, Gary Sobel, Chip Alberts, Hank Borkovitz, Jonathan Frank, Stan Aronoff, Dick Kuhn, Yehuda Yanai, Bill Fox, Marcia Reese, Maxine Cohn, Dr. Joseph Bear Marcus, Ron Sinclair, Margot Hirsch, Jim Stillman, Jim Karlowitz, John Labotsky, and Kermit Bott. And the following whose yahrzeit falls this week: Sheldon Bailey, Lee Brenner, Nellie Cherniak, Selma Cherniak-Nasberg, Francis Firschman, Jean Frank, Alan Goldman, David Holman, Jack Levine, Arthur Levy, Burton Lindner, Zoreen Lindner, Seymour Meltzer, Miriam Mirengoff, Max Portnoy, Andrew Jackson Roach, Dr. Robert Sherman, Ernest Steinman, and Ida Zeckman. If there's anyone here who is mourning the recent passing of a friend or loved one, or observing the yahrzeit anniversary of a loved one's death whose name I didn't mention, I would ask you please to share those with us. Ed Schwartz. We continue with Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ויומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עולמי, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
May the source of peace send peace to all who are in mourning, and may God help the earth to heal as well. Please have a seat. And somebody here is under the impression that they're reading some announcements. It's Eddie Lichtman.
Hi, good evening. Shabbat Shalom. We are grateful for the contributions made this week to our Sinai community in memory of Francis Firstman, Eugene Frank, David Holman, Alan Goldman, Dick Kahn, William Copens, Andrew Jackson Roque, Ernest Steinman, and Ida Zekman. Join us for the following upcoming programs this Sunday, July 7th, at 8:30 a.m. Achenu is men's spirituality group. Thursday, July 11th from 8:30 a.m. I mentioned. Contact Mitch Colton for details. Thursday, July 11th, 5 to 7 p.m. Here at Sinai, we're going to have social justice postcard writing, and you can RSVP to Sarah Rubin. The social justice meeting will take place Monday, July 15th at 5:15 p.m. here at Sinai. And then Woman of Sinai Dying to Know, Part 4 at Greenwood Cemetery, July 28th. Meet at 10 a.m. at Sinai here to carpool, or 10:30 a.m. at Greenwood. And you can RSVP to Bobby for details. Please refer to the Tuesday and Friday Sinai e-news for the latest Sinai programming, registration information, live stream, and Zoom links. Thank you.
The Social Justice Committee's postcard writing on Thursday, July 11th is going to be writing postcards to remind people to vote, which this year is kind of, we always say it's more important than ever, but this year we really mean it. We're going to, last week I said it would be great to have some hurricane chimneys to put around the candles so that they wouldn't blow out so easily. And lo and behold, I don't know who was listening, but they appeared right here. So we are going to do the blessings. When we are done, I would ask you, after you wish each other Shabbat Shalom, if you are up to it, please take your chair and bring it back to Lee, who will have brought in a big rolling thing to put the chairs on. And if you could as well, take your prayer pamphlets and put them in the plastic box from which you received them. The prayer is on page 120 for the lighting of Shabbat candles. Please rise.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu b'nei Hashem.
On page 123 are the words for the Friday evening Kiddush, and please join us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uv'ratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim.
And please join us in the Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
There is challah and little cups of wine or grape juice upstairs. So if you joined us in the blessing, you can follow through with everything it referred to. Please, on your way up, say hello to somebody you don't know and help us keep this place a welcoming one.
Excuse me, everyone. Could you, we got a new system going.
A new system.
The new system is that we're no longer bringing the rack outside no more. So just bring the chairs to the door and then someone will take them from there, okay? Thank you so much.
New system.